So I'm gonna be trying a new thing today, which is basically something more educational. And today we're gonna be talking a little bit about 3D models and how to best use them and go about using them, okay? So we're gonna start off very simple. We're gonna open our Clip Studio. I'm using the EX version, but all of this can be done in the Pro version just as easily. As you can see, I'm using the default layout so that it's as accessible to as many people as possible, though I do suggest that you change your layout to whatever is most comfortable for you. So we're gonna start off with creating a new file. The one thing that is different from mine is that I do have a couple sets with custom tools, just because that is easier for me. Let's go to a standard pen tool. So what many people know is that Clip Studio does have access to 3D figures and various other tools. So we're gonna be looking at how to effectively use them. So over here on this side, you will have a bunch of little tabs. The second tab will be for your 3D drawing figures. We are just going with the standard male one. Here we have a handsome little fella. You rotate him with your left mouse click and right mouse click is zoom in and out. So what is very useful is that just one tab below, here you have the body type, you have various poses to choose from. So let's just go with a very standard pose. Let's do this running pose. It's one of the female running poses, but who cares? So you can, by clicking on one of the limbs, you can move things this way, or by just in general clicking on the model, you have access to these IK points to more easily customize your pose. So this is not all. Usually to move your figure, I tend to use the normal move layer tool. First things first though. As you can see, we have our figure here, but what if you want to customize a little bit more? So I think the easiest way would be to open the subtool detail window. And as you can see in the subtool detail, you have all of these tabs that allow you to change the poses of the hands. See how sprawled out they are, more balled fists. The thing that's very important about this one is you can adjust your body shape. You can adjust this character's height. You can even adjust the body to head ratio. You know, this is how you'd approach drawing chibis of sorts. But we're just gonna stick with the default. Keep things simple. So, what most people would be prone to doing would be, okay, let's add a new layer over here. So, most people would be very likely to just trace over this as is. Turn down the opacity so it's a little bit easier to see. We're just gonna ignore how rough this is gonna look. People would do probably something like this, and then you have your t-shirt like so, and then follow this line. And your pants. Now, this is fine and dandy to do. It's not cheating or anything, as some people would say it would be. because, you know, you have these tools, so why not use them? So the trouble comes with hands and the ability to learn, because if you are a beginner, it is very easy for you to get stuck in, oh, I have 3D models, let me just trace them and that'll improve my art, that'll make it better. And that's not wrong, so to speak, because there is no wrong way to do art. So this is what we came up with for just tracing the model. It's not bad. The hands are a little bit rough. You know, obviously lack the details. So, you know, again, this isn't awful. It's a good first step, but you're not gonna learn anything from this. So what I suggest doing when you use 3D models, we're gonna make a new layer, and instead of directly tracing over it as is, we're gonna take something like the dark pencil, and we're gonna in and basically blot out each of the important body parts so that we can start learning the shapes and the structure of the body. So, you know, you've got your head, and that way you can also already start a little bit the process of stylization. You've got your ear here. And this is where following the guidelines that this model already gives you comes in very handy. So you've got your nose here. Then you've got the neck. So we're just gonna still follow these lines. Roughly, but not one to one. This is the important part. So we're gonna start moving on to the main torso. So you'd probably do something like this, where you blot out the first part of the torso, which is usually the collarbones and pecs. Then you've got the next part of the torso, which is kind of like your upper tummy area. Then you've got the tummy and your hips and crotch area. So what's the benefit to something like this? So when we already turn this off, you can look at it later and kind of get an idea on how to structure a body for when you're drawing without references. So you'd usually follow these orange lines as well to get your center points. So, you know, your pecs would end up being divided in the center point. You'd get your belly button somewhere around here. For the legs, we'll do something similar. We're gonna use simple, easy shapes. So in this case, I tend to put a circle where your legs connect to your hips. And you're gonna usually use a circle for your knees and kneecaps. And you'll just combine those with this kind of shape. It's kind of like a baguette. So you use this baguette shape to draw your legs. And you'll do that with the lower leg as well. Put a ball for where the joint between the foot and the leg is. And you're gonna draw your baguette shape. Same for the shoulder joints, elbows, and wrist. Do you already see the pattern? So you want to break it down into basically boxes, balls, and baguettes. That is the easiest way to learn how to structure a body. It's extra steps, but it'll teach you more in the long run. Getting into this habit early of breaking down things and learning how to approach dividing up a body in simple shapes will help you a lot in the long run. So you're basically going to connect these with your baguette shapes. Hands. So this is the hardest part. For hands, when you're a beginner, tracing them is really no big deal. Like, I'd probably do the same. You can stick with the hands being traced. It's whatever, but when you do so, do make sure to take a look at all of these guidelines they give you, because that'll help you later on in teaching you how to draw hands. It's just hands is, you know, they're so complex that this is an entire different video that we're gonna approach at some point. So for now, we'll just take the easy route and trace them. So, now we've got a sketch for our second figure. It looks rough, but, you know, that's kind of the point. You have it now divided into these very simple shapes that you can kind of look back on later and be like, oh yeah, I remember that when you draw freehand, oh, so we'll have the torso, then we have the like low upper belly, lower belly, and then this kind of shape for the hips. And you can kind of use that to start learning how to draw without references, or how to draw without tracing, more specifically. So we're gonna take this layer, we're gonna make a new layer, and we're gonna now be tracing over this figure. This will give you a more natural feeling to your finished artwork. And we're gonna start adding our little details following these guidelines we've made. And then, of course, depending on your art style, this neck might be too big, and you'd start deviating from your puppet, so to speak. So let me just finish up this. Okay, we've got the pants here, and your arms, my hands, and the second arm. Okay, let me tidy up this one a little bit more, and then I'll go back and also tidy up the other one just a little bit more. Just so that we have a product of like equal effort. So here we've got our first figure, our first dude, and we're now gonna give him the same treatment and make sure that he doesn't, I want to give him as good of a shot as I possibly can. Alrighty, so what we see here is now the, let's mark these. Let me move him over a little bit. He doesn't look too bad. Looks solid enough. And then we've got our referenced boy. So you see a few subtle differences, and obviously depending on your art style, both look fine. Actually, he looks a little bit more adolescent than the other boy, but as you can see, you still get a similar enough end result while still learning something, while still learning the structure of the body. So yeah, basically the takeaway from this should be tracing, especially if you are given tools like these figures here, is fine, but you're not gonna learn as much from just tracing it as you would from breaking down the body into its basic shapes and then referencing that and tracing that. Of course, people's mileage may vary, but I think this should be helpful. And please let me know down in the comments if this kind of tip is helpful to you. And if you have other things you want to learn about Clip Studio and how to get started on drawing and using the tools that you're given. Yeah, I think this will be it for now. I will see you guys in the next video. I have more things planned, And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, do hit like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you want to see, and I'll see you next time.